And you know what? This is going to get spicy as we bring in Matthew Barnaby from Bet99. Fellas watching in Winnipeg regarding the Jets, and Barney, she says, I'm okay with missing the playoffs this year as long as the youngsters get to play. Building the team for the future. Barney, let's dive right into the deep end. Nice tan, by the way. Dive right in the deep end. Are the Jets done? I'm saying it's time to blow it up and start all over again. What are you thinking about Winnipeg?
First of all, I don't feel guilty about having a tan because you're in South Florida. So you're not even going to play that off because I was in Mexico and you're headed to LA. But as for blowing it up, I think it's time. This team is underachieved. I mean, we've been 5 years waiting for this team to contend for a Stanley Cup. They have a great goaltender. We know, a plethora of forwards, but this team just hasn't figured out a way to get it done. The coach has stepped down, who I really respect a lot. I think it's time to play the youngsters, blow this thing up, and go from there. They still have a lot of great attributes within that team, but an underachieving team for a lot of years now.
I agree. Dan Asham watching in Winnipeg says, Rod, your podcast rocks. I agree. My boss, Darren DuPont, a co-host, Barney, says, you want white teeth? Get a tan. You've accomplished both. You've got really white teeth and a tan, Barney, but would you agree with that advice?
Yeah, for sure. I just actually came from the tanning bed, so this is actually a little bit of a cheater because I'm going back to Arizona for the waste management in about 10 days. But yes, if you want clean, nice, white teeth, get a tan. And I had to smile because I lost all my fights. The only thing I had in my fights was a smile, so always had to take care of that.
How unreal was that when we were driving to Carlisle with Andre Waugh in the front seat? You were in the back seat. And I brought up when you had the logo teeth, and he didn't even remember. Those were Sabres logos, right? How does Wazzy not know that you had glamour teeth back in the day?
All he does with his time is learn the national anthems of countries that we really don't care about. So he just practices random Russian national anthems. He's a youngin', and let's. I love the guy, but not the sharpest tool in the shed. So love you, Royce. Love you. And yes, that 2 hour straight drive to Arcola was something of beauty.
That was so much fun. And back, too, which he wasn't part of, was not conscious for. Anyways, Evander Kane, where are you on that?
Well, I think it plays right into what the National Hockey League is in all professional sports. Listen, he's the Antonio Brown of the National Hockey League. He's not a great teammate. He's not a great person, but he is a very good hockey player. And on the ice, short term, I think it's a no-brainer for Edmonton for what they are paying him. But over the long term, I would never sign this guy to a long-term deal. But it's a desperation signing, right? I look like I'm part of the Edmonton Oilers fan club back here. But this is desperation. This is a team that expects to contend for a Stanley Cup when you have some of the best players in the world in Draisaitl and McDavid. And for the team we're talking about underachieving, this is a team that is underachieved, and you want to keep your superstars happy. You have to go far in the playoffs, or it's going to be disaster. It still doesn't address the goaltending position. We're going to wait to the playoffs if they get there, which they should. But Evander Kane, bad human being.
Did we lose Barney's audio, or did I lose him? Are we still good to roll here? Because I'm not done on this topic. You got me, Barney?
I can hear you fine. Can you hear me?
Oh, there we got you now. Yeah, we're good. Back on track. The reason the Jets rebuild came up because the rumor in Coffee Row in Edmonton today, God love it, is Hellebuck to the Oilers. And who knows what you'd give up, but it would be a lot. Like, they're going to have somebody, right, Barney? They're going to have somebody in goal. I guess they're kicking tires on Martin Jones in Philly. I think they should try and get Braden Holtby out of Dallas. Who do you think ends up there? And is that all they need?
Well, I think that's the biggest piece of the puzzle. Who ends up there is going to depend on exactly what they're willing to give up, and that's going to be draft picks. It's going to be young guys that are going the other way. Hellebuck will definitely cost the most out of all those goaltenders. Here's what I know out of all those guys. The two that they have there, Smith has been able to stay healthy. He's been very good at times when he has been healthy. And Koskinen just isn't a number one goalie that you can trust. And for me, it doesn't have to be an unbelievable goaltender, but he has to stop the pucks that he's supposed to stop. Listen, I played under Dominic Hasek. That was unbelievable and made stops that he wasn't supposed to stop. Now, he's the greatest of all time. He's one side of the spectrum. And then I went to New York, where we had a team that was expected to at least compete. We didn't even make the playoffs. Who was our goaltender? Mike Dunham, Dan Blackburn. Go to Colorado, expected to win a Stanley Cup with the likes of Joe Sakic and Peter Forsberg, Solani, Paul Correa. The list goes on and on of Hall of Famers that we had. Who was our goaltender? David Abisher. To me, that's the same as the Edmonton Oilers. They don't have a good enough goaltender to take them far. They're going to have to make a deal. I don't care how good Evander Kane is. I don't care how good your offense is. If you don't have a goaltender, be able to steal you a game once in a while, but make the key saves when you have to, you're not going anywhere. But any of those guys is an upgrade on the two that are there now.
Oh yeah, they're not winning a Stanley Cup with any of them. I think you go get the best goalie. Phyllis says Marc-Andre Fleury, and I would agree with that. I'm on board with that. Even when he was in Vegas, I thought they should.
And that wouldn't cost you that much, you know.
No, it wouldn't. Just the cap space because he makes a lot of money. I think he's at 5.5. But Barney, you bring up the Rangers. Can I just sashay off the road for a second? I'm at Theo Fleury's kitchen table last Thursday, and your name comes up. And I was saying to Theo some of the things you'd mentioned about New York, that you didn't see him a lot away from the rink. And Theo's like, oh, yeah. He goes, I passed out in a face-off circle, lining up on the right wing because I just collapsed. He goes, he didn't know what were you? Do you remember that?
I just remember, I didn't know exactly what was going on with Theo at the time. And I love Theo. And I'm glad he's got the help that he's needed. And certainly none of us want to go through or can even fathom through it. I mean, he's been 15 years old, the things that he's had to deal with. And he's really come out the other end. But yeah, for our years in New York, certainly there was days I looked at him, I was just hoping that he would get some help. And I didn't know the extent of it, but he was certainly a great guy to be around when he was there. But away from the rink, I never really saw him. But yes, I remember the play that he's talking about. I remember the chicken dance. Like I said, he's very animated, an unbelievable player, a great guy, a funny guy. But certainly it was tough for all of us in New York. We went through some tough times there.
Yeah, well, Theo's like me. I don't mind bringing it up. He's like, say whatever you want. I don't care. That's Theo, right? And so anyways, he said to say hey, and that was one of the stories that came up with when your name came up, that he had just collapsed and done the funky chicken. Anyways, back on track with the betting game here. Matthew Barnaby with us from Bet99. How did you feel about the endings of the conference championships on Sunday?
Well, I think they lived up. Listen, the week before was incredible with the Tampa game, and we saw the Buffalo Bills, Kansas City ended, and we're like, how can anything even come close to living up? These were two great games, and Mahomes was we thought Superman, and he really wasn't the Patrick Mahomes in the second half that we've become accustomed to watching, and glaring mistakes, really getting pressured and trying to make too much out of nothing probably cost them the game, but a well-deserved win. Joe Burrow is one of my favorite quarterbacks. I'm a New York Jets fan, and I've been saying for a few years now, I would love Joe Burrow to be my quarterback for the next 15 years. He has all the attributes. He reminds me of a Dan Marino with that arm, size, and just happy for him because he just seems like a really cool cat. But happy for Cincinnati. Listen, they were drafting first overall just a couple of years ago. Now to be in the Super Bowl, pretty remarkable. And as for San Fran, LA going to play now in the Super Bowl in their home field, SoFi Stadium, going to be pretty cool. Awesome that you get to go there. I'm very jealous. I was looking at tickets on StubHub today. Little out of my range for what I'm willing to pay for a Super Bowl. And I'm going to be in Arizona, like I said, at the Waste Management, but it's going to be great. Jimmy Garoppolo played his last game, I believe, in San Francisco. We saw it. Out of all the quarterbacks, probably the last 8, he's the one guy where you get the ball back with about 2 minutes left, and you're like, there's enough time on the clock. Not a chance. He's just not good enough quarterback to take that team. I think it's Trey Lance's team, unless they make a deal for one of the quarterbacks that are going to be out there. There's going to be a lot of moving parts, I think, in the offseason this year. So Jimmy G, I think he's gone, but they just didn't have a good enough quarterback, I believe, to overtake a very good Los Angeles Rams team. And when the defense needed to come up, the big boys came to play.
Jeff Caldwell's watching in Oregon. He says, I loved watching Barnaby with Buffalo. Great to have him on the show. I love watching Barney everywhere. My cousin Christine in Medicine Hat is watching. She says, is that Gretzky jersey signed behind Matthew? It must be if you're going to frame it. What's the story on that jersey?
Yeah, these are actually both my girlfriend. She had them for her kids. They're both signed, but I'm a big avid collector of all jerseys. So I have a bunch of. It was really like I wasn't one of those guys that just followed the stars around. I've always collected jerseys, and Gretzky's the one guy, him and Mario, that I really sought out after and got done. Loved watching Edmonton play as a kid and getting to know Gretz over the years, playing in his golf tournament, playing in his fantasy camp. There's no greater ambassador for the game, the best player to ever play the game. And I don't compare eras, but there's a reason why he's the GOAT, and his numbers will never be touched.
Absolutely. No doubt about it. Barney, always great, my man. Enjoy the Zona. We'll catch up with you after Super Bowl.
Travel safe and enjoy, and let's go Rams. Cover the 3.5, 4 points.
You got it. We love the teams that cover. Matthew Barnaby, our good friend, joining us today from the nation's capital.
Hey, everybody. Thanks for watching the RP Show on YouTube. And don't forget, we're live daily on YouTube from noon to 2 Eastern. If you like what you see, hit subscribe. And if you like the program, check around for other segments of the Rod Pedersen Show here on YouTube.